For us, I think when it comes to networking, we've created a really good culture where when people come to the events, everyone's like kind of there to hustle, meet people and do business. I get that feedback like all the time. We focus on like, how do we make it really big and, kind of fight off the industry norms that really held us back. And we could have really, unfortunately, created an environment where maybe it didn't always feel really welcoming and it felt cliquey. We just got lucky and that didn't happen, to be honest with you.
Welcome to the Cashflow Chronicles Open Forum. I'm Matt Allison, a commercial insurance advisor helping businesses protect their cash flow by managing risk and putting the right protections in place.
And I'm Brad Metzger, a commercial lender specializing in finance solutions. From lines of credit and term loans to real estate mortgages, I'm here to help businesses grow and stay flexible.
This podcast is a community-driven conversation for CFOs, finance leaders, and business owners who want real insight into cash flow, credit, and financial resilience.
We keep it practical, collaborative, and to the point.
Powerful finance conversations in under 40 minutes, built for busy professionals. This is the Cashflow Chronicles Open Forum.
So, hey, John, I really appreciate you coming on to join us here on the Cashflow Chronicles Open Forum. I'm pretty excited I know you run the Southeast Michigan Chamber of Commerce, which is create a lot of buzz because I know you guys are structured a little bit differently than most chambers.
Yeah.
Do you mind walking through a little bit about your history and kind of what makes the Southeast Michigan Chamber different?
Yeah. So right out of college, I went to work for the largest mortgage lender in the country. It was Quicken Loans at the time. It's now Rocket Mortgage. Actually, was a temp employee. I kind of got myself hired in. I did host application loan processing with clients on the phone for first few years. And then I got into leadership, and most of my time, I did about 10 years there, and most of my time was in senior leadership. I was the director for the escalation team and like high profile clients. So we'd have celebrities, athletes, Dan Gilbert's friends. We processed all their loans, or anybody who was complaining because they had a really bad process, you know about bad loan processes, not because of your services, of course, but because of the external things that
You want that experience to be perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So we handled all of like the clients that had bad issues to finish off the loans. And then after that, I ended up moving into vice president of the relocation department. So we managed all the contracts for like large employers that would hire talent and like relocate them, or, hey, we're opening a new branch in, Florida. And so you need to relocate there. And so these employers have like incentive packages to, move their family across the country. Part of that was the mortgage process. They got preferred rates and cost, and, the realtor and finding a house and moving and all that stuff. And there's actually like a ton of, it's its own industry. It's like called the relocation industry. So like, even if you're like, let's say Ford, and you don't have like a relocation department for talent, they contract hire with these relocation companies. And then those relocation companies, have like A to Z through like everything you need to do to move your family across country for employment. And so anyway, we obviously were in the mortgage space there. So I was there for about 10 years. And in that time, I got really into real estate investing, single family residentials. And after the company went public, went from Quicken to Rocket, just kind of some of the priorities and the culture change, as you probably imagine being public. Dan Gilbert got sick at that time. Right around that time, he had a stroke. And just both those things happening right around the same time just really kind of changed the culture internally. And so I kind of was already looking at, maybe doing something different. And then I had an opportunity to take a buyout. So I was like, well, I'll take this buyout and focus on my real estate. My wife has her license, and, we'll just do all things real estate. And I'll work with my dad a little bit at the chamber. And it turned into, I don't do any of my real estate anymore. Like, I should go pick up rent today sort of thing. And it's a 24/7, 365 thing at the chamber. So.
Yeah, I know before we started recording, you had mentioned grabbing breakfast with some chamber members. And I think that speaks to what you do as a leader of the chamber as well.
Yeah.
I think we talk about networking. How would you describe networking within the realm of a chamber of commerce versus any other type of group, specifically the Southeast Chamber?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we got really lucky on as an organization is the culture inside of our membership and, our events and organizations are really, really good. We focused for a really long time on, we really want to have a lot of people come to our events. One of the biggest pieces of feedback that we hear, like, we all have our sales cycle, right? And you always know what your objections are going to be before you even talk to someone, because there's common objections in an industry. For our industry, it's I don't get anything out of being part of a chamber. The events aren't any good. I always go there. It's like the same 10, 15 people. How many times can I talk about Bob and his insurance agency, or Susie's a real estate person? There's just no reason for me to continue. There's nothing new for me. And so we focused on, let's not do like an event every single day of the week. Let's do like a few events a month and do them really, really, really well. And let's not focus on these small, little intimate groups. Let's do more massive, massive events, so that if you're a member and you come to the events, there's an unlimited amount of leads there, right? I mean, we have members that have been members for 4 years and they still haven't met everybody because there's just so many people and we have so many new people coming on. And so for us, I think when it comes to networking, we've created a really good culture where when people come to the events, everyone's like kind of there to hustle, meet people and do business. I get that feedback like all the time. And it wasn't something we focus on. We focus on like, how do we make it really big and, kind of fight off the industry norms that really held us back. And we could have really, unfortunately, created an environment where maybe it didn't always feel really welcoming and it felt cliquey. We just got lucky and that didn't happen, to be honest with you.
I think that's the one challenge. Anyone that's in like a new networking group, it's like, hey, how do I fit in with these folks? I'm just a new guy. And I know when I first joined and you're like, who do you want to know, man? Like, John's my guy. Talk to John. If you come to an event, they're so amazed. It's like, there's so many people. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And everyone at that chamber, they're always like, how can I help?
Yeah.
Who do you want to talk to?
I think you created a good culture that's different than most chambers.
True.
So as a new member, so if I'm a new member and I'm coming to your first event, what is that experience going to be like at that first event?
I think it depends on that person's comfort level. It may be overwhelming or it might be exactly what you're looking for. What you will get, regardless of what you're looking for, is a lot of people. I mean, our networking luncheons are averaging at this time over 500 people at our events. Also, the other big differentiator that I think people would notice if they're coming in, besides just the amount of people, is the vast majority of our members are owners, founders, or C-level type employees at an organization. And that's important because you're oftentimes talking to the decision maker or one of the decision makers. A lot of networking groups have a lot of, sales reps or marketing people, and there's nothing wrong with that. And we have those members too. And those members are just as important to us as our members who are the owners, right? And so I don't want to make it sound like that's one more important than the other, but when you are in sales, you want to talk to a decision maker. I mean, that's one of the hardest parts of sales is how do I get in front of the right person? You can have the best sales pitch, you can have the best product, but if you're not talking to a decision maker, you're wasting your time until you can get from that person, who do I need to talk to internally? Or how do I get past the secretary, right? Okay, so now it's Bob. I got to talk to Bob. How do I talk to Bob? How do I get him engaged with me? How do I tell him about my services? How do I build a relationship? How do I build trust? How do I finally get, the meeting to really try to sell them? And so for us, you come to the event and there's all these people there, but a large portion of them are one of the decision makers in the organization. And I think that's another kind of level of benefit that our members or our new members get when they're like, this is cool. I talked to 50 people today and almost every single one of them is the right person. Now you still got to be able to follow up and do your sales pitch and close, but that's good. The other thing is we've added kind of like little things over time to make the experience even better. So like we have a VIP room. So our main sponsors or anyone who wants to, pay additional to participate in that. It's usually like a side room at these banquet halls that we do these at. And we'll have community leaders like mayors, state senators, federal House, United States representatives. Recently, we've done more like athletes, like Herman Moore was one of our VIP people. Lomas Brown, who also used to play for the Lions. He's now the voice of the Lions if you listen on the radio. So our members get an opportunity to like come to an event, eat, meet a lot of people, meet high quality people that are decision makers. And then they're like, I also got to get autograph from an athlete today, or I got to meet my state senator. I got to meet the mayor today. And so it's just like this totally different experience. Like, is it worth your time to come out and spend 3 hours with us? And I think most of the time the answer is yes.
So, and I think anyone that has been to one of those chamber events, as previously mentioned, they're like, wow, this is insane. And the momentum you're building, because you're structured a little bit differently than most chambers, correct?
We are, yeah.
You mind walking through for the listeners?
Yeah. So we're the only privately owned chamber in the state of Michigan, maybe the country. There's really no easy way to verify that. Historically, chambers are nonprofits. And so my family owns and operates the chamber. And the reason that that's important is because it does give us an advantage in terms of servicing the members. members. Maybe some might say an unfair advantage, but it kind of is what it is. And when you're part of a nonprofit, so let's say another chamber, for example, and there's value in being a member in other chambers as well. But if there's something that, hey, this is a great idea we got from a member, sometimes the person running that chamber can unilaterally make that decision, but a lot of times they have to go back to their board, for example. And, now you've got not one person, but you got a bunch of people, and maybe they have different agendas, right? And so for us, we get to wake up every morning and say, what's the best interest of the organization and what's the best interest of the members? And yeah, that's a good idea. Let's go do that right now. And I think a lot of times people get caught up in for-profit, nonprofit. Well, somehow maybe this organization is doing things a certain way to, make themselves money versus there's this other and they're nonprofit, so they're not. But that's not really true. Nonprofits make money. Blue Cross is a nonprofit. They're the largest insurance provider in the state of Michigan. Trust me, they're chasing a profit. They're trying to make money. And so our competition is doing the same thing. They're trying to make money. Really, when it comes to nonprofit, I think a lot of times people are like, well, nonprofit means charity. And that's just also not true. A lot of times it is, but not always. Example, Blue Cross. Any business can actually be a nonprofit. All they have to do is follow the IRS's code to obtain that tax status. It's just a tax status. It's not anything more or less. It may be about charity, but it might be about Blue Cross and providing insurance. And so I think for us, our answer has kind of always been, we'd rather just go ahead and pay our taxes. We're okay with that. If there's anything wrong with paying your taxes, maybe no one's a massive fan of it, but it's not like there's anything wrong with it. And we're going to take on that extra financial responsibility to be able to do the things we want to do the way we want to do them in the best interest of our members. Some other chambers, and just unfortunate, but they can't do certain things at all because of their bylaws in terms of their charter, but also because of certain rules and laws around being a nonprofit, like, supporting a political candidate, for example, or how you raise and spend money. And we don't. And that makes us very, very nimble and agile to be like, that's the best interest of the members. And that's why we're going to do it.
A couple of things. Did you know like all major league sports are technically nonprofits?
Yeah, I think the NFL got away with not paying taxes for like ever up until like 4 years ago. They finally put the clamps on them.
The most profitable organization in the world. I think it was during the war. It meant it was as a special designation because its focus is entertainment.
Okay, exactly.
And it's like how do they not pay taxes?
Yeah, isn't it crazy?
It's just baffling. And I think the other part too is because you're financially incentivized to showcase value to your members.
Yeah,
which makes it a little bit differently from that standpoint. So, a quick question. Can you share an example of a business outcome that simply came as a result of membership from some of your members?
Yeah, a lot of really good wins. Guess I'll just reflect on 2025. 2026, I can't believe it's almost February, but it's been a little bit of a whirlwind. I don't know what I've got accomplished so far in 2026. Yeah, so we had a new member join in 2025. It was what was the place called? Shays Mega East over there on 23 in Chesterfield. Brand new to town, so they want to get involved in the chamber. I live like right next door by coincidence. Went and talked to Mark, and he's like, yeah, you want to join the chamber? Okay, well, why do you want to join? What do you want to accomplish? It's like, well, we want to sell cars, obviously, but we also have other things like we can sell fleet services. Like you sign up, you're a restoration company or whatever. Well, you need to maintain your fleet. It's something that maybe if you're not in that business, you don't think about, but when you're in that business, a fleet of cars, it has to happen. So do you have a mechanic on staff? Do you run on the ground? Do you try to get your guys on their downtime that know anything about cars to do it? So they're like, we can make a lot of money in the fleet service sort of side of things. And, that's might be low hanging fruit. I said, well, that's good. We don't have anybody in the chamber that does that. So I think Mark and Shays signed up 3 members just on their fleet service, and it was a good value to the members to be able to have someone internally they can trust to manage their fleets, oil change, tire rotation, that sort of thing. They also sold, I think, 4 cars, fleet type cars, utility vans and trucks to members just last year alone. They did get bought out by Moran Chevy, so they're already not a member, but it already worked, right? Exactly. So that was a good one. We had a commercial liability insurance company who wanted to get into insuring like the limousine industry. And so that industry is really hard to get into because there's a ton of liability around it. And they like to work with people that have that sort of experience. You know, you might say, well, have you ever done this before? And so we're able to get them meeting and secure a contract with one of the biggest limo and shuttle companies in the state of Michigan. So that was pretty huge. I had a member who took over as the regional director for the state of Michigan for the second largest property management company in the country. And so she's like, hey, like, I don't have any good GCs. None of them are reliable. Too many of them are overpriced. I need someone who's reasonably priced, but also I can like rely on, because I have, you know, clients that are investors who need to be able to churn houses quickly and also not get raked over the coals because they're trying to make a margin, right? So one of our GCs, long time chamber member, one of our first members, be able to connect them. And I don't know what the exact number was, and even if I did, I probably shouldn't say it, but I know that just in 2025 alone, it resulted in hundreds of thousands of revenue just on that one connection.
Yeah, and I think I can just speak to my personal experience once I joined, because hearing the buzz and got to meet you, we built an instant bond. I think that speaks to you. And like John, how many contacts do you have on your phone? It's like you're at capacity, right?
Yeah, at some point, I don't know when it taps you out, but I'll get there eventually.
Because I mean, how many calls do you make in a day, would you say?
There's no day I'm making any less than 30 or 40 calls. If it's a day where I'm just doing calls, connecting members or sales, because I still do sales and staying away from the administrative stuff, I mean, I'm over 80 or 100 calls a day.
Yeah, and every time, what's up? And I'm like, wow, crazy. So, and I know you've made at least 5 introductions for me, which is greatly appreciated.
Of course.
I think one thing, from someone that kind of is an expertise in the realm of networking, a chamber member, what separates effective networking from busy work in your opinion?
Good question. I think the follow-up is important. I notice a lot of people who will spend the time or the investment in networking, whether it's, you know, paying to be a part of my group or another group, and then you got to invest your time, which is probably even worth more than what you paid in your membership dues with these groups. And, you know, you make good contact, you make a little bond or whatever, and then there's just no follow-up, the card somewhere, right? And some of the best networkers that I see, like, hey, thanks for your time today. They do that quick email, let's get a cup of coffee, and they're just on their radar. Or they'll follow up, you know, a couple months later, or they have an email drip campaign and you're in there right away and they're constantly getting in front of you. I think that there's so much demand for everyone's attention, and everyone's attention span is so small. I mean, I'm as guilty as anyone. Like, I'm on social and it's like, oh, this video looks interesting. And if like the first 5 seconds, I'm like, this is taking too long. I mean, it's terrible, right? But that's true with people in relationships. It's like, boom, in and out. And if you're going to make that time and that investment, but you're not going to follow up, I don't really think it's worth it. Maybe you're the world's best salesperson and maybe you've got the best charisma and you can close, and that's great. God bless you. But the average person, and that's most of us, you just have to be in front of people, out of sight, out of mind. So I think the follow-up is really important. I also think on like the initial, if it's all about you, then what's the purpose for the other person? You know what I mean? It's like, great, okay, this is what I do. So and then they see you walking down to the next group of people, you know, doing a thing. And they're like, okay, like, I think people are open to learning about other people's business and networking. That's why they're at my events or any other networking event. But if you're the guy who's just, it's about me and then I'm on to the next guy, or you're looking around, I'll see some people sometimes, I'll introduce them like at events and like, oh yeah, and they're looking, and it's like, hey dude, like, they've already moved on. It's like, you're not gonna get this person's business. Like, they gotta feel more important to you than you were trying to make yourself feel important to them. Absolutely.
Trying to find a common quick, right?
Oh yeah.
It's funny. I had a good conversation with one of my old colleagues. Oh, I'm not really good at network. She goes, yeah, neither am I. And some people just don't like to network.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, how do you even start that conversation? How do you even find that conversation? It's like pretty simple. You're standing over a plate of food and you're like, oh, shrimp again, right? So it's just, it breaks that.
Totally.
So you find that common bond, but yeah, it's, I think a really good networker tries to find common ground quickly, but really is looking at how can I help? And it's like, it's more give than take.
I totally agree. I feel like some of the best networkers I see, they'll meet someone, find out what they do, the back of their mind at some point, it's when they'll want and ask for a hearing or whatever for their time, but immediately their group email with, hey, you should meet Steve, I'll put you in a group email, and they actually do it. And then now this person that eventually they want business from already got a lead from them about someone else who could use their services. And that's pretty hard when someone comes back to ask you for something, to be like, no, after you went out of your way already to really help them and get them a lead, right? Sales, we were talking about sales earlier. It's like hardest things to get in front of a decision maker. You get somebody who you just met and they do a handoff to a decision maker and they haven't asked for anything. You know, you got to be a certain type of way or person to not try to reciprocate in the future.
I think that speaks to a couple of things. case, a friend of mine, he needed like a loan and he connected with someone quickly. And I'm like, well, I know other people, but they met a certain way. And I'm like, oh, well, and he's like, Matt, within your Rolodex of people, I need help with a potential real estate deal. And I'm like, hey, talk to this person. Like, it felt so good to be like, hey, bam, bam,
Totally.
easy peasy. So, and I think if you're a good networker, to Brad's point, that's the joy you get out of networking effectively.
The more you give, the more you get.
Absolutely.
I really believe that.
Yep. I think that's
Totally.
critical.
Totally.
You mentioned too, it's hey, I paid my money, I made the change great. But what I'm finding out is you're only going to get out of it what's put in.
100%.
When you go to networking events, and I know a lot of people are, like you said, you'll see 500, 600, 1,000 people at sometimes at events.
Yep.
And it's like, how much of my time am I putting into this? But one of the biggest things I try to explain to some people is when you go to network, you got to take at least one card, one connection, one genuine connection.
Oh, yeah.
And I think if you, again, and just let it roll. Like,
Yeah.
how did I get that follow up? I think your comment on following up is absolutely important.
Yep.
But not be aggressive.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And some people really have a skill for it, like a real skill. Like, I think I'm more like, I'm going to fake it till I make it. You know what I mean? Probably like imposter syndrome, way worse than anyone realizes at all. But there are some people you meet and you're like, this person's got it. Like, they are just so charismatic. Everyone's drawn to them. And it's easy. But for the average person, you got to work on your skill. We were talking about working out earlier. Like, hey, I want to be fit. I want to be able to lift this amount or be this weight or whatever. But it's what you put into it is what you get out of it. And actually, it's funny. I meant to mention this earlier. So about our model and about, how do we do things different? And, what do you put into it? What do you get out of it? We've created a really good mousetrap where I still tell everybody it's like a gym membership. You can pay for your gym membership at Planet Fitness or Lifetime, but if every day you make an excuse or you drive right past the gym, you're not getting anything out of it. And that's true for, my group, and it's true for other groups or whatever sort of networking group you're a part of. You can't just have the membership and think you're in a business. You have to actually do the thing. So I always reinforce that with all the members, whether they're about to sign up or they've been around for a long time or we're doing new member orientation. But we actually have a multi-level membership tier, which is very, very different. I don't think other chambers are doing this, none that I've seen, where we have our general membership. And so that's the gym membership. Pay for the membership and be active and participate, right? That's the baseline. But we have additional memberships where the more you invest, and there's, 5 or 6 different tiers, you actually get a bank of hours with the chamber. And so what we do is we find out what is it you do, what's your product and what's your service, and who are you trying to get in front of, what particular, whether it's specific businesses, like if you have a wish list, or what specific industries are you trying to get in front of. I want to meet people who are property managers or real estate agents, or I want to meet people who are in logistics, right? Whatever that is, we go back as a team, we go through our database, our sphere of influence, and we come back and we say, like, here are the people that we can get you in front of, and not, we don't say every single person, because we might call a guy and be like, hey, my brother does that. I can't take business from my brother, but it's a comprehensive list where there's enough meat on the bone that we will get, meetings here one way or another. And then they pay a little bit more for a higher level membership. We use that bank of hours to then follow up on that list that we've provided, that they're comfortable with or that they really want. And we chase down those individuals and we say, hey, it's a chamber. We want to set a meeting with you, one of our members. We tell a little bit about what they do, enough to make sure everyone knows what we're talking about, but not enough to sell it, because you want to be the person to sell, right? And so what they're getting is they're getting access to the events, right? And they should still do all that prospecting and do all that networking and all that follow-up. But who do I really talk to? Like, how do I identify who those people are so they can pay for that? Or, hey, I know this person's a part of it, or I met this person and I really want to meet with them. I can't get the meeting. Will you help? So they can pay more. We will set meetings for them. And then on top of it, we go to the meetings with the members and do a warm handoff. Okay. So now you're getting what? In front of a decision maker in an industry you want. You're getting the added value of the chambers kind of, signing off, this person's legit and you should hear what they have to say. And we'll help our members on the follow-up. It's like, hey, I never heard back from so-and-so. We'll call, hey, we met with Steve the other month, like, you never heard back. Because in sales, a no is better than a maybe. A maybe will kill you. You could be at a maybe for 4 years, right? Maybe on the first day is okay, but after a certain point in time, maybe's a bad thing. So we'll help you get a conclusion.
I think that that's interesting because you're able to, that initial meeting somebody really,
Yeah.
what are you looking for? And that kind of service you're providing is it's kind of lowering.
Totally.
It's more friendly in the conversation. Like, okay, what are you trying to sell me today?
Yeah, a little bit of moderation, break the ice. Our team kind of knows when to interject. Our team kind of knows when to back off.
Let them sell it.
Let them sell it. Or if they're not doing good, kind of, bring it back in. It's worked really well. We've had a lot of it's called our Chamber Connect program. Okay. And we've had a lot of really good success. It's really labor intensive, but a lot of those stories I said earlier about our successes came as a result of that. So
I was going to speak my personal experience. You're like, hey man, I have these people I want to introduce you to, and that was great for me. Think about it. What's a better engagement? A cold outreach where they don't know you. You're like, hey, they're like, what are you trying to sell them? Or someone like, hey, this guy's legit. This guy or girl is legit. This is the service you're trying to provide. That could be a good fit. What time works? I would rather have the warm handoff.
But I also think too, if he's already had a conversation on the other side,
qualified.
It's, I'm looking for S. And it'd be like, I got the perfect guy.
That's exactly the program.
You're a matchmaker. You're like
I am. It's true. And I think the nice thing about the program too is we've been at it long enough that it's very reciprocal. Chamber helped me at one point get in front of someone I need or want. I'm definitely willing to take a meeting because I want to pay it forward.
Giving it back.
Giving it back. And then it's got to make sense, right? You got to have the right personality. You got to have the right price point. You got to have the right service. People can come together, but they got to dance. So, our goal is to really sell that we're going to open doors for you that either you couldn't get to or get through. But after that, people still have to be able to sell. And so I think like every business, you learn and you grow what works, what doesn't, how am I selling my products or my services or setting my expectations. And we've learned the hard way on certain stuff. Like, hey, we need to do better on making sure people really understand, what it is we're selling. It's an add-on to your membership. It's not the whole thing. If you want to pay the whole thing and have your 5 hours is like 5, 10, 15, 20 hours banked out that way, but don't come to the events, that's fine. But after, 12 months, when you're up for renewal, if we did 5 or 10 meetings and you didn't get anything out of it, but you like what you saw, I can't make people choose your service. I'm trying to create the opportunity with everything we said today about why it's a benefit. And by the way, you never came to any events. Who did you miss out on by missing 6 500 plus person events, our golf outing, our boat outing, our cigar nights, all this opportunity to get in front of people, have another touch point, but you never showed up, right? And so it's not a perfect process and it's not an exact science, but it's by far a massive, differentiator and an advantage if you're going to be part of a networking organization to have the people that are trusted at the top of the organization to advocate for you.
One thing I think too, as you mentioned, you're lucky to have the culture. Everyone in that chamber, and this is just chambers at large in general, but how can I help? They carry that ethos. Like, I want to support fellow chamber members. How can I do that? And that leads by your leadership. One thing I think is really cool about what you guys do is you continue to evolve the services you provide. I know we had discussed something you're going to be working on here in the new year.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Even more than we discussed. So I'll share it all. So on brand, we are going to have a podcast network. And, we've had like, hey, you guys should have a podcast, and we might have our own podcast on the network. But what we really believe is like, do what you do well and focus on that. Don't try to be something you're not good at. If you're good at something else, put it in your portfolio, put it in your services, do that. But if you got stuff you're really good at, how do you get as many opportunities, value adds and services for the members, doing what you already are good, doing it in a different way? And so for us, we're good marketers. We're good promoters. We have a good name and a massive following in the business community. And people kind of look at the brand like, hey, I trust that brand and I'm engaged with that brand. And so I can't tell you how many members podcast. I want to do my own podcast. I'm starting my own podcast. I'm going to do a podcast. And then those are just the people that bring it up to me. I mean, if I ask every 10 members I ask, 7 or 8 of them are like, I'd love to do a podcast. It's in vogue, right? And so it's difficult. And you guys know, people see the product and they're like, I'll just sit down there and I'll talk and boom, I got a podcast. Wrong, right? Not that easy. Much harder than it. This, yeah. Right now is the easy part. I'm glad I don't have to do the other part. So the network is going to be what we do and what we do well, and that is great. You guys are all interested. Hundreds and hundreds of my members are interested. So we're going to have a program. So we have a couple different members in the chamber that are podcast marketing agencies, and they also do production. Some of these guys have been in the radio world for decades, big channels, 95.5, just top-notch professionals. And they've transitioned into podcasts because of just the way the world's going, of course. And so they have their own podcast agencies. And so they're going to offer probably like a 3 or 4 course class, like a level 1, 2, 3, 4 certification. So we'll offer the certification through the chamber. People can pay to participate. And so by the time they get done, they can walk away, if you're a member who participates, and know everything they need to know about podcasting, from, we were talking earlier about head positioning and the camera settings to, where's the mic, then there's the software, Riverside, and there's other ones. How do you get it on the platforms? What's your model? Are you going to do interview? Are you going to just do it by yourself? Right? There's so many different factors when it comes to doing a podcast that, like, I didn't realize all that. So they can get done. By the time they're done, they can do A to Z by themselves if they want to do by themselves, right? The other part of the program is that just because you have a podcast, or just because maybe you're the best, right? You might be the next Joe Rogan. I mean, really, there's somebody out there that is the next Joe Rogan. But now you got to get people to follow it and engage with it, right? So you can do the best podcast in the world, but if you don't have that distribution or that following already, it takes a long time. I mean, it could take years, maybe decades, to be like, I've been doing this great podcast, and just finally now I'm starting to get people really engaged and listening. So we looked at it to say, how can we really help the members? Yeah, we can teach them everything they need to know. There's a massive demand for that, but also let's create the network. And so if you go through the certification and you meet some other sort of criteria that we haven't fully ironed out yet, we'll put you on the network and we'll promote you. So we're solving the problem of, I get my cousin and my coworkers and a couple people on my LinkedIn, and I'm getting 30 or 50 or maybe 100 people listening, and that's okay. You got to start somewhere. Or do you want to pay a premium and just immediately get interjected into the chamber's ecosystem, where we drop it out to everybody's emails, multiple times, where our team, the same guys that are teaching the class, will help with the kind of podcast SEO side of things when it gets uploaded into Apple and Spotify and all that. And so you're immediately going to be in front of thousands and thousands of local business people right away, versus having to build that base. And so we're going to do all the promotion for it.
I think that's such a critical piece, just learning this podcast aspect. I'm just like, let's just put up the camera and figure it out.
Of course.
And I had some people that helped me out when I first started, and just how it's evolved. And I think we both can speak to that. Just like, oh, wow, there's so many things we could do with this.
Yeah.
Kind of unlimited.
Yeah. It's a lot of trial in there, and what works and what doesn't work. Having conversations with people in the industry, right? Have you seen this? Have you done that?
Yeah.
Try this next time. We try different things, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But I think having that network of experienced individuals that have pivoted from that radio, but the marketing side that you're going to be able
That's the biggest part.
expose those people's podcasts to your network, it's going to do exponentially.
Thank you. And that's the point, right? It's like, do you want to pay to just get to the following you want, the eyes right away? Or do you want to kind of hump the thing for however many years, and might not ever get there? But, I got to say, we've never done it, of course. It's still... Yeah, we're going to trial and error. And, I think at the end of the day, like for us, it's like, how do we provide more options and values for the member? You talked about, what are we doing for the members? This is another thing. And so many of them are interested. I do know that we're good at getting the brand and the messaging, and the following is really engaged. So our kind of thought is, was it different if it's, here's our newsletter, or here's the RSVP for the event, or here's whatever, or this time it's, here's this week's podcast lineup with all the videos and the links and all that. I don't think that's any different. We're going to find out if it is or not, but I have a really good feeling about it.
I think in turn, people want to, if you have an interesting idea and you actually bring somebody in that actually knows what works with podcasting, is so critical. Because realistically, I think the stat is like, I think it's like 80% of podcasts never make it past episode 3.
Yeah.
Because they realize how much work it is.
And they're not seeing the results right away on top of it. Yeah.
So
that's one thing. I got more. Do you want to hear other stuff we have going on?
Absolutely.
Okay. We are going to have our own e-commerce platform for the members as well. We've definitely created this great organization in terms of providing all of the opportunities to build your network and your relationships. I mean, I always say, really all we do is relationships. That's all we do. Even the events, the events are great. We got shuttle and valet and celebrities and all this stuff. It's cool. But that's about our relationships. Those people are there because of our relationships, right? And so for us, we're doing this thing really well, but how do we add something else where members can get additional exposure for their products or offer their services. I think for people in the retail world, okay, not the business service side of things, chambers can be very difficult to get an ROI on. There are some chambers who focus on shopping and retail and tourism and the downtown chamber sort of thing. And there's some chambers that focus on like policy advocacy. How do they influence the government to create a pro-business environment? You know, our space is really networking relationships and grow your business. We do some of that other stuff too, but we definitely recognize we could do better helping the members get more exposure without our personal involvement, setting meetings, which is very time, insensitive and laborious, to having a platform that's an easy single sign-on with your membership and provide all your products. Like, I mean, already through the blueprinting of it with the company we're working with, I mean, it literally looks like Amazon and it functions just like Amazon. I mean, it's, if we change the colors, you would think you were on Amazon. And so the functionality is amazing. We don't want to be Amazon. That's not what I'm trying to accomplish. But what I am trying to accomplish is someone who's in the retail space, like, well, how do I get people to buy my sneakers at a networking event? Like, is there a way to do it through building relationships and making an impression? Of course. But it's not really the same as the guys in the business services sort of thing, right? And we've got the business service side of thing down really good in terms of a value add. But this will add another layer for those other industries. But we're also going to be able to sell services on there as well. So an example in terms of like commercial lending, I know there's laws, so it might not be an exact way to do it, but you might put your business services on the e-commerce and say, a quarter point off or waive the closing fee or whatever. So then when we start conditioning the following to go to the chamber for anything that they need, they're like, okay, I need a commercial loan, and they'll put it in and there'll be all the members and credit unions and banks or whatever, but they have their services and whatever the reason is that you would want to go with you. So very excited about the e-commerce things.
Yeah, I need this service.
Multi-vendor platform.
Yeah, I'm going to look in the chamber first and foremost because I want to support local individuals that are in the same group as me.
Exactly.
And we talk about everyone's attention span. I want an answer now.
Exactly.
I have ChatGPT on my phone. I'm going to be honest. So it's like, hey, I'm trying to fix the door. Here's a picture.
For everything. Yeah. It's unbelievable for everything.
How do I fix this?
Yep,
100%. This place was wrong, but
still better than what you would have came up with in your head. Yeah. Yeah.
So clearly, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate the energy you brought to the table, and it's such a vital topic now. I know a lot of times you talk about sales and business development. Is cold calling still a thing? I mean, think about the past guests we had where they're suitcase sellers, where nobody likes those.
Yeah.
Authentic relationships. What's one practical habit that you would suggest the listeners to this podcast take in when it comes to networking or just business development in general?
I guess I have to go back to what we said earlier, and that's the follow-up. I mean, first, making sure that you're giving before you get, try to go out of your way to make other people really, really feel valued in what they do and how you can help them. And then it's just that follow-up. I mean, even with our Chamber Connect program that we talked about here today, I have to tell some members, like you got to follow up with some of these people. Like you have to follow up. Like the follow-up isn't good. It's not my business. You run your business however you want, but you're paying for a service and paying for our advice in some ways. Like let's not go down there and grab coffee and burn an hour and a half and then you don't even follow up with the person or send them your marketing material. Like you've got to stay present in front of people. And so I guess maybe to answer the question a little more tangibly than follow up, if you're in business and you don't have an email marketing campaign, you've got to get an email marketing campaign. I really, really, really believe that. Sometimes you're part of a larger business that is maybe providing or doing that service for you in some sort of way. Sometimes you're a solo entrepreneur or you're just a small business owner. But if you've got leads and contacts and you're not staying in front of them, your competition is 100% staying in front of them. If you're not, somebody else is. And with the email marketing campaign services nowadays, they're very easy. They're insanely user-friendly. They've got automation, scheduling, kind of smart tags where you can prioritize your different clients and your different leads. And some of them are free. Like I think MailChimp is free up to a certain amount of contacts. And it's a lot. It's like 500 or something like that. We used to use MailChimp until our new CRM offered it. So get an email marketing campaign.
I think that's so critical. Stay relevant and add value in conversations. Really, really appreciate your time, man.
Yeah.
I think it's such a vital topic these days to talk about AI and technology and things like that. Relationships are so important.
Yes.
And having champions that help you achieve your success is such a value add.
Absolutely.
Anything else to add, Brad?
No, I think networking is cold calling is not bad. We've determined that. Is being genuine when you network.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be really important. But as AI comes into play, that personal relationships are going to be even more important seeing that face. But I think what you guys have built is exceptional. It's different.
It's very different.
It allows you to pivot to do things that other teams don't. So
Awesome.
appreciate you sitting down with us today.
Yeah, thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Hey, you've made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Make sure you subscribe to the Cashflow Chronicles Open Forum newsletter, drop us a like, and follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube.